Guys, we're already 2 minutes behind schedule. Do you know how stressed out that makes me? All right, hello, hi, I'm Amani. I'm a part of the 71% Coalition. I'm just gonna introduce the event tonight, and then I'll get out of the way of our lovely moderators who are gonna take it from here. But hello all. Welcome to your public town hall. We will be hearing from candidates for district attorney as well as our candidates for Utah Congressional District 1. Your moderators will be Ray Duckworth, representing Black Lives Matter Utah and Canada, representing Wasatch Assembly, and occasionally me, Amani Khader, from 71% Coalition. Not looking for it, but we appreciate it. This town hall is being live streamed on YouTube, and it will be available thereafter and on our website afterward as well. This town hall is hosted by the 71% Coalition, co-hosted by Black Lives Matter Utah Chapter, Healthcare Workers for Palestine, SLC, Green Wave Utah, our local union, CWA 776, the Church of Protest, Utah Jews for Palestine, the Nuanua Collective, the Wasatch Assembly, and the Women's Caucus of the Utah Democratic Party, with refreshments provided by Fane at the end. Can we please have a round of applause for our co-sponsors? Yeah, that's right. I truly love how the list gets a little longer every time we do an event. So in that vein, we're always looking to expand the coalition. If you or anyone you know is part of an organization that aligns with the 71, we would like you to be a part of the future coalition. Please reach out via email. It's on the program. You can find it on our website. We're available online. All right, we have this event planned down to the minute. We ask that the candidates respect this by abiding to the time limits when answering, and we ask the audience to respect the candidates and each other by keeping your voices respectful throughout. Finally, we want to make it clear that all questions tonight have been suggested and edited by the entirety of the 71 community. It's our great privilege to be able to have such talented moderators, and we'd like to remind everyone that these questions were not written by one person. Instead, they are ideas with an entire community behind them. This town hall is split into two parts. The first part will be for Salt Lake County DA candidates, and the second will be for the CD1 candidates. And at the end of each section, we'll be offering a voting on audience-submitted questions. Please scan the QR code on the front page of the bulletin. You should have gotten one as you walked in. And submit and vote for your favorite questions. The moderators will read 3 questions. Excuse me, it's actually been moved to 2, depending on the race. And the system will be reset between races, so during the bathroom break. We'll leave a few minutes for voting, but if you want to submit a question, we highly suggest that you do so now, so that you can get your questions in for voting. All right, I think that's all the housekeeping. Thank you guys for joining us. You can have a seat, and we will begin. Thank you so much.
All right, give it up for Amani. Okay, well, we will now move to the race for district attorney. We are extremely thankful to have both of the candidates with us here today. And thank you as well as CD1. We're gonna start with the basics. So this is for the both of you. If you win the bid for DA, do you agree to meet with the 71% quarterly in a public forum like this one? And you can just raise your hand, yes or no. So raise your hand, yes.
Yes.
Raise your hand, yes. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have one more question from each of you, and then you'll each have 3 minutes to respond, okay?
Awesome. So first to Sim Gill, excuse me. Sim, you have served Utah as district attorney since 2011, a 15-year stint. Recently, many activists in our community were shocked and disgusted to see pro-Palestinian activists being prosecuted by your office, having to rely on the ACLU to defend their constitutional rights. In addition, a $20 million lawsuit has been levied against your office for wrongful imprisonment. Considering the cultural climate and the community who invite you here today, why should anyone in this room vote for someone who might be prosecuting them in the future?
Great question. Thank you for asking. So first,
Yeah, use your mic.
oh, sorry. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you for asking. So first of all, let me say in terms of there were 28 individuals who were cited at the University of Utah on the protest there. We dismissed charges against 27 of them, and there was one person who was charged. And there is a process by which we have to go through. And first of all, I think that everybody has a right to protest. I have protested in the past, and before I die, I plan on protesting, as well. So it's a constitutional right that we have. So try to balance that to preserve that. But if there is some issue that comes up, then we want to be able to look at it. There was one case that was the ACLU case that you're talking about. That case got filed. We went to the preliminary hearing. We got the witnesses on there. After that meeting, they had the prelim. They came back to our office management committee. We sat down and listened to what they had, the officers had to present, and we authorized the dismissal of that case with prejudice. And so that's sometimes the process, and it can seem onerous, but I'd really try to honor all of our interests in that the best that I can. Oh, and one more question about the $20 million, I forgot. So that is pending litigation. I'm precluded from really talking about it, but I can say this to you on that, which is that everybody's looking forward to it in the court so we can at least get to the truth of what actually transpired there. And that is something that we're all committed to.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I follow up
Go for it.
on that? Sim, in light of the cultural climate and the fact that I just don't think protesting is going to get less rather than more, I really do wonder, is an onerous process the best that you can promise your constituents who are going to have to use their constitutional rights to fight? Not just, it's not a personal thing, it's about fighting Trump at this point. So I don't know. I just think onerous process is a term that kind of leaves me paused.
That's fair, right? That's fair. What I'm trying to say is that I think we have to be thorough. I want to end up on the side of protecting everybody's constitutional rights. I understand how the system and law enforcement sometimes can use that, and those are things that I am obligated to go through and look at, right? So I always want to err on the side of protecting those rights. I don't want to, abuse that process, but I understand this model that I have to work in. But my commitment is to our First Amendment rights. My commitment is to our ability to protest. That's what makes our democracy what it is.
Is there anything that you would do differently, your office would do differently going forward?
Well, I think I like the idea of, we're saying, having quarterly meetings, right? For 23 years, every Friday, I have community hours. Anyone can have a meeting and they have direct access to me, not to somebody else, because I like that feedback. And I understand the point that you're making, and I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to making a process that works for everyone, right? And I have a responsibility to try to do my work and try to balance those competing interests. And so dialogue is good.
Thank you. I just want to note here, as a parent, I don't want to continue protesting. I'd like that shit to stop sooner than later, so that my child doesn't have to continue fighting for the same rights we've been fighting for the entirety of this country. The next question is for Sean. Sean, with 30 years of experience and your job history shows you have not worked in Sim's office during his time as DA, why is this, and how are you planning to build bridges in the community that have been
Atrophying.
for so long? 3 minutes.
Well, first of all, I'm part of the community, and as a community member, I value everybody's input, everybody's opinion. We all need to work together to make our community safer. Many of you have expertise in areas that I do not, and I will draw upon that expertise. One of the most important things that the DA's office needs to do is have the public trust. Right now, the DA's office does not have the public trust. And on day one, my goal is to restore integrity, transparency, and accountability in the office. But I fully intend to bring all of the partners in this community to do restorative justice better. I do want to make one point that I think is really important. In talking about the protest cases where my opponent indicated that they filed 28 charges against 28 individuals. All of those were dismissed. That should not be happening.
That part.
The way a prosecutor should work, and this is the way I work as a prosecutor, I look at the evidence. Based upon the evidence, I determine what charges I can file. If I don't see the evidence at the time of filing, I don't file those cases. It's incredibly traumatic to somebody to be charged with a crime, to have to take time off work, to pay thousands of dollars to an attorney to defend them. And in the case that Liz Marion, for example, that never should have been filed. If you look at the pleadings and the order of dismissal, it's absolutely unbelievable that that case was filed. I will work with the community, and I'm part of that community. Am I new to this job? Yes, but I have 31 years experience as a public defender, as a prosecutor. I have run a law firm. I have managed many, many people over my career. And I will tell you this, in 25 years in private practice, the same people that I worked with on day one are the people that are still at my office when I left. And I'm very proud of that, and I value relationships, and I value your trust, and I will earn your trust, I promise you that.
Thank you.
One follow-up for me.
Go ahead.
As fascism rises, especially at the federal and state government, what's your plan as DA to resist and support the local community in their fight against fascism?
Against what?
Fascism?
Well, we're witnessing fascism firsthand. And for example, with ICE, I know that Salt Lake County filed a lawsuit yesterday. I'm proud of that. I support that to make sure that that ICE concentration camp never opens. ICE agents that come here and break the law, I will prosecute. I've heard many people say you can't do that. That is not true. If they violate state law, if they come and terrorize us, I will file charges against them. I will prosecute them. Sorry, I didn't realize.
No, thank you.
Time.
I finished. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you both. We will now be moving on to policy questions. Both candidates will have a chance to answer each question. You'll have 3 minutes to respond. The first one is on mass incarceration. According to prisonpolicy.org, Utah has an incarceration rate of 396 per 100,000 people, meaning that it locks up a higher percentage of people than almost any democratic country on earth. That is a terrifying problem. If elected, how will you invest in the community, the rehabilitation of those incarcerated, and divest from the prison industrial complex? And we'll go to Sim first.
So this is an issue that I've been working on for all my life. This is very important, and we've been talking about that. So there's programs that I've created. For example, I created the first mental health court in the state of Utah. I also created the first pre-filing diversion program, which we instituted about four years ago. And I've challenged my office to do pre-filing diversion so that no charges are even filed against that individual. We have a 92% graduation rate with an 8% recidivism rate, and 0% of those 1,800 men and women got zero prosecution at all. We created the first ever conviction integrity unit. We just did a vacating a murder conviction that was 20-year murder conviction with Adrian Gordon. And so therapeutic justice models that we can look at drug court, veterans courts to transition people out, but also to slow the flow of them coming into that system, because that system is overwhelmingly disproportionately used against people of color and people of poverty. I used to, people say by accident, I say by design, because the result of incarceration is too consistent to be an accident. So we need to acknowledge that. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to right now is the nexus between homelessness, mental illness, and the criminal justice system and our failed mental health system. And that is something that in the state of Utah, that, you know, when we think that somebody's civilly committed, we think it's a place. In Utah, it's a status. And unfortunately, the only system that responds to mental illness is our criminal justice system, and that is the wrong system, but it's a indication of our systemic failure. So I have a committed programs that I've created to transition people out. So we can focus on those who are the genuine risk to our community, and rather than just simply sending people to prison.
Thank you.
Any follow-ups? We're good.
Yeah, I have a follow-up for that. I like the idea of you implementing new systems that make it harder for people to get thrown into slavery. But, you know, and I also recognize that, you know, mental health is a huge, it's a huge problem when it comes to incarceration. But what reasonably can your office do for mental health services? I'm not sure how a DA's office supports that in any way.
Great question. So for example, when we first created mental health court, right, we knew that the largest mental health facility in the country, it was the LA County Jail, right? The second highest, Rikers Island, third highest, Cook County. So those people who, before we created mental health court, 85 to 90% of them on those felonies would have gone to prison. Over the last 23 years, we have probably gone through about 4,000 to 5,000 participants, and probably less than 200 have gone to prison. So that is a difference. Getting people access to their medication and stabilizing them as part of our protocol is what is giving them a better quality of life and to transition it. We're not gonna cure mental illness, but we can elongate the contact that occurs that is disruptive of that. I know of no mentally ill person who wakes up in the morning and says, let me go see what crimes I can commit. It is often the consequence of that mental illness, right? So mental health our court has done that and has impacted those populations from transitioning to prison.
Sean, do you need the question repeated, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So, first of all, I heard my opponent indicate that he started the first mental health court. During this campaign, I've heard him say over and over that he started the first drug court, mental health court, and veterans court in Utah. He took office in 2010. Judge Dennis Fuchs started the first drug court in Utah in 1996. The 3rd District Court created the first mental health court in 2001. And Judge Paul Warner in the federal court created the first veterans court in 2010. My opponent's been in office for 16 years, and we're still talking about the problems, how we don't know how to deal with the homeless population, with people with mental illness, with people with drug addiction. I think that we strongly need to encourage use of 988 instead of 911 for people with mental illness. I think we also need to really work together to maximize federal funding for non-judicial restorative justice programs. If we access Medicaid funds, these people can get treatment, they can get housing, and we don't need to worry about a concentration camp over by the airport for homeless people. This is something we all need to work on together, and I need your help. I am the first person to acknowledge that I don't have all of the answers. What I've observed, it's not working. So we need to be revolutionary, we need to be creative, we need to have a very different approach than we've had in the last 16 years.
What does your revolution look like? It's nice to say that, but what is your idea when you go into office? What are you going to do that's revolutionary?
So I have been meeting with people from Odyssey House, The Haven, lots of different providers, people that provide services across the spectrum when it comes to mental illness, drug addiction, our homeless population issue. And we need buy-in and cooperation, and we frankly need to create a new model. In my mind, that is something, how much time? Sorry, I didn't see how much time. Okay. In my mind, that includes a treatment component, housing, where people are transitioning back into the workforce. But we need to do it non-judicially, because a lot of times when people have felonies and other criminal convictions on their record, they can't get housing, they can't get jobs. And so we need to be mindful of that and implement a program that prevents long-term impacts of criminal cases.
Thank you.
Can we talk a little bit more about that? Is that possible?
No.
And one note from my
So-
end.
That's all right, thank you.
One note from my end, I just want to identify for the audience that, despite the kind of points that, Sim's talking about, the municipal administrations have really been sleeping at the wheel at the urgent crisis. So I just want to highlight for everybody that this is an urgent issue, and we need candidates who feel that urgency and are going to start doing things day one. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. We don't need any more Band-Aids. We need to cut it off. Okay? The next question, this is for Sean. Prosecutors have a wide latitude when negotiating plea deals. Recently, in several U.S. cities, prosecutors are using their discretion to protect defendants who are immigrants from wrongful deportation. If elected, how will your office work with the defendants to mitigate immigration consequences and set a new standard for deportation in Salt Lake City? Go ahead, Sean.
I want to make sure I understand the question. If somebody that is not a U.S. citizen is charged with a crime, how will I deal with that as district attorney? Is that the question?
Some prosecutors are choosing to not pursue certain charges so that defendants who are not U.S. citizens are not going to get targeted by other members of our community, such as ICE. So the way in which you prosecute certain kinds of crime can also lead to ICE deportations because they're being rooted out. So the question was, if you're in office, would you do that? Would you mitigate the way that you prosecute certain crimes so that people who are more susceptible to ICE can be protected?
Well, I think that starts with the decision to charge someone with a crime. I think you need to ensure that you have the evidence that you need to get a conviction. And if you don't file charges. As a prosecutor, and also when I was a public defender, and I had cases where I represented people that were not U.S. citizens. They were very concerned about being deported. And I would work with prosecutors to fashion a plea agreement that would likely not lead to deportation, where, and I've done that as a prosecutor as well. I think we need to protect our immigrant community, and they should not be unfairly targeted. I feel like they are. But there are a lot of different programs that whether they're diversion agreements, there are a lot of different things that we can do to protect our immigrant community. And I'm committed to doing that, and I'm committed to protecting them from ICE. One of the things I would like to do when I become DA is prepare know your rights for immigrants. So they know when they're talking to law enforcement that they don't have to do that they have a constitutional right against self-incrimination. They need to be educated, and I think that would be a great opportunity for the district attorney's office to provide that education, and I look forward to doing that.
That's great. I'm wondering if you can think of any other ways that your office, if you were elected, could protect immigrant communities that maybe aren't as regular and maybe a little bit more revolutionary. Do you see a vision where you can institute, using what your knowledge of the law and your knowledge of the political climate, to insulate our community, our immigrant community, from the people who are going to go after them?
Well, I think it's like I said earlier, ICE can't come to Salt Lake County and terrorize people and commit crimes. If they do that, I will prosecute them. And I think that that is a very strong way to protect our immigrant community. If we send a message to ICE, to police officers, that they cannot break the law, that they cannot violate people's constitutional rights, that will protect the immigrant community. They're not going to come in and do it. So I'm committed to doing that. I live here. Everybody is a member of our community here, and we need to protect them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sim, do you want a chance to respond to that question?
I would love to.
Okay, cool, 3 minutes.
Thank you. So first of all, that's just something we are already doing. When I talk about the pre-filing diversion program, that is that as cases come in, we are not even letting the prosecution or filing of charges to actually even happen. We're diverting them out so they don't get the collateral consequences of prosecution. So that's the one that we've had 1,500, we had 1,800 men and women who went through that, as I mentioned, with a 92% success rate, with an 8% failure rate, right? I challenged our office. We screen about 20,000 cases. I challenge our office to look at 10% of those should be aggressively looking forward as our goal to do pre-filing diversion. This year, I challenged them last year. This year, we're on our way to diverting between 1,500 to 2,000 cases in 1 year. And that is one way that we address that issue. The other way that we do it is we also, I brought in Dr. Leslie Orloff to come and train with our nonprofits to talk about U visas, T visas for our immigrant communities. We had them do also training with the law enforcement officers. I flew out again a second time, and I brought all the leadership of all the police agencies and had them be educated on U visas and T visas, because those communities should feel safe and not be threatened by our institution when they're victims of crime. And so if anybody, whether it's ICE or anybody who comes down there, every person, regardless of their status, has constitutional rights in our community by virtue of being outside in this land. And so any illegal action against them should be prosecuted. And they should, and one of the things that I really want to emphasize is that I also want to, that we are working, I'm working with a national coalition of prosecutors. Next month, we're bringing together, John Choi and I from Minnesota, a convening of prosecutors to talk about exactly how we can push back on ICE. What are the legal remedies? What are the strategies by which we can support each other? And when we go into federal court, because we're state prosecutors for removal, that we have a coalition that is of attorneys in Washington, D.C., who can work with us as local prosecutors to go help us litigate in federal courts. So that's something we're doing in a month. And the second thing that we want to do is that we want to push back on legislation that differentiates between federal law and state law. If you commit crimes in state law, you should be prosecuted in state law and not be removed into federal jurisdiction. So those are things that we're working on right now.
Go ahead, ask the next
Thank
question.
you. So the next question is on domestic violence and sexual assault. Fox 13 found that 51, more than a third of the 137 homicides between July 2023 and January 2025 were the result of intimate partner or familial violence. Despite this, the president is cutting funding for victims of crimes like DV and SA. If elected, how will your DA's office listen and support victims of domestic violence and sexual assault? To Sim first.
So first of all, I created the first ever Victim Support Services Division as a standalone co-equal division in our office, staffed by social workers and victim advocates with trauma-informed care, right? Now, as a result of that, we were able to help 5,000 victims, but we were also not able to help another 5,000 victims. That's what the need is. So in a trauma-informed way, we're trying to reach out and support that. And we want to make sure that they're getting the support through the process. They're getting the support that they need through the even after that with counseling supports that we can do. And one of the other things that we need to think about again is that domestic violence and intimate partner violence, homicides and violence, is something that is one of the most difficult things that we deal with. And as prosecutors, we have to deal with a survivor who is often going to go back to her abuser. So we can try to counsel her. We can try to get her services that she needs to transition away from that person. And sometimes we cannot do that. This is an issue that I've been very involved in. Myself and Asha Parekh, we started the first Family Justice Center in partnership with YWCA, wrapping services around survivors so they feel safe and protected and empowered before we talk about giving them services or support through criminal prosecution. And so we're looking for interventions that in ways that we can disrupt that. But it's one of the most complex and difficult things that we have to deal with.
I have a follow-up on that. So we live in a very patriarchal society, and we live in an especially patriarchal state. And I don't know if you've been following the Lego thing, but it's just a really ridiculous example of the kind of service we can expect from our police officers, which is very little. In cases like domestic violence, we often see their partners are pleaded down to lesser charges so that they can get away with that shit. And that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Do you see yourself changing your policy around this and, protecting these women?
Yeah, so the balance that you have to start with is empowering them and not dictating to them. I've had prosecutors who have used material witness warrants and jail victims to make them forced to testify. And that's something my office will never do. We will wrap services around to support them. We will advocate for them. We will provide services for them. But I have to respect that person's choice in that situation, but not force ourselves on it, right? And so it's about we try to train officers. We try to have a multidisciplinary team approach on the screening of these cases. We try to work out dispositions that are supportive, and when their victims are supportive, we will take it to the mat. But it is that complexity, how do we balance and respect that individual, at the same time give them the services and the protections that they need.
Any other follow-ups? All right, Sean.
No, I don't have a follow-up. Sean?
Okay. So presently, I see in court all the time cases, domestic violence cases that are being prosecuted by the DA's office being dismissed because they have not subpoenaed witnesses. They're not prepared to go at preliminary hearings. They wait too long to set cases for trial. Part of the problem is the DA's office is chronically understaffed, not because of funding, but because of culture. And many of the really good attorneys that I know that were there for many years have left because of the intolerable conditions. I will fully staff the DA's office in my first year. If we're able to bring in 16 new attorneys and also convert some of the supervising attorneys that don't have caseloads to have caseloads, we can adequately prepare for domestic violence cases. In January of 2024, Fred Andrews murdered Esperanza Chavez. The DA's office had filed 2 felony cases, DV felony cases against the defendant in the months preceding Esperanza Chavez's death. Instead of sending him to prison where he belonged, he pled to Class A misdemeanors, got probation, and then he murdered her. That is unacceptable. We need to prosecute these violent offenders. They need to be in prison. We need to protect victims, and I am committed to doing that. Victims need to be involved in every stage of the case. We have a Victims Crime Act, or Crime Victims Act, that says prosecutors need to keep the victims informed, that they need to be notified of important hearings, that they're entitled to restitution. And I have talked to many victims in the last year and a half who are not being advised of hearings. In fact, I spoke to a woman a couple weeks ago who asked me, is it common for prosecutors to dismiss cases without notifying victims? I said, no, we have an absolute ethical obligation to do that. This was in May. She said, I just found out the DA's office dismissed aggravated assault charges against the defendant in January, and nobody had told her. That is wrong. We deserve better. Victims deserve to be adequately represented and treated with dignity, and I will do that on day one.
One follow-up from me. Do you disagree with Sim on, like, kind of listening to the victim in the sense of if they do not want to proceed with a case, do you disagree with Sim's position there?
Well, abusers manipulate their victims.
Very true.
And I cannot tell you how many times as a prosecutor, especially when I was up in Clearfield, I did a lot of domestic violence cases. And abusers are master manipulators. They will try to get victims to change their minds. They will tell them that things are differently. And as a prosecutor, you need to stand firm and prosecute. You're protecting that person, and that the victim doesn't even know what the abuser is doing. I do disagree with the sentiment that things are too
We'll let her
hard.
finish.
You have to be tough. You have to be a leader. If you're a public servant, you serve everybody in our community, especially victims. And for me, I don't like to make excuses.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is for Sean. Fox 13 found that 51.
The drone
This is the next one?
use.
Oh, mine is different. Just kidding.
You're good.
Okay, Sean, this question's for you. The SLC PD authorizes drone surveillance of protests simply for things like marching or not having a permit, both of which are a First Amendment protected activity that do not justify the use of drone surveillance. If you are elected to office, how will you protect peaceful protesters, your community, from unconstitutional surveillance?
So the legislature just recently passed the drone surveillance law that went into effect in May. And it's the same investigative tool as for example, video surveillance, different things like that. So except for exigent circumstances, police need to get a warrant. They can't just use a drone to go out and observe what people are doing. I would not support that, and frankly, if I see that police officers are using drones to violate peaceful protesters' constitutional rights, and that's the basis for a criminal charge, or at least the allegation, I'm not going to file charges. If the police are violating individuals' constitutional rights, a prosecutor shouldn't file charges, and I won't, and I'm very committed to that. Now, drones do have some legitimate purposes. For example, if a hiker is injured in the mountains and it's serving as a first responder to locate that person, that is legitimate. But just to go out and sort of spy on people, that's unconstitutional, and I will not file charges in cases where that occurs.
A follow-up to that, will you have that same energy if there are a group or a singular photographer who is, invading protests just to gain access to protesters and take their photos, and then using those photos to make deals with the DA or the police office? Would you keep that same energy for a person in doing that?
So who employs the person?
They're freelance. So if it's just a freelance photographer who joins peaceful protests just to gain access to those people and take their photos, and then they share those photos to the DA's office or the SLC PD, for example, would you keep that same energy for a person like that as you would with?
So the answer to that question is a little more difficult because it's a private individual. If they are acting on behalf of law enforcement or the district attorney's office, then that is the same analysis for law enforcement. So if they have a deal with the police department where they have some sort of relationship, I think that that's impermissible. But if there is just a person that likes to go to protests and take pictures, unless that person is violating the law, there's not much you can do about that.
Okay.
Also, just a note to the audience. Let's bring the energy up, guys. Let's snap and hiss if we're loving or hating. It's feeling very like we're like sleepy.
You guys are a little tense. It's
Yeah,
just the
I'm like
DA.
let's be snapping or like if we're hating. Like, come on, let's go. Okay. Back to you, Ray.
Sim, do you have a thought on drone use?
I think that, look, as technology advances, it becomes more invasive. And I think we need to really have a thoughtful conversation about when those rights are violated. One of the challenges that you're going to have is that you have public spaces, and you do have a body of law that says that in public spaces, there's a lesser expectation of privacy. We don't have to agree with it, but that is really how this is going to be interpreted. You have, so you have license plate readers. You have different aspects of technology that are there. And so one way is to try to change that conversation and to put some guardrails on when that can be used and what constitutes exigent circumstances as this technology comes on board, right? But right now, in terms of public spaces, what we will confront is an entire body of law that is going to be that in public spaces, we have limited expectation of privacy. As to the second issue that you talked about, the camera person, again, individuals who are out there who are taking photographs, we can't control that. I think to the extent that we can play is how that technology is used, under what conditions it's used, and if it is violative of constitutional rights and principles, and then we have, as a prosecutor, we can say we're not going to use it. But unfortunately, some of these issues are going to have to be tested in court.
Go ahead.
You say some of these issues are going to have to be tested in court. What are your plans? Obviously, we want somebody who's going to aggressively test them in court. Is that your going to be your modus operandi? Are you going to Because I literally just saw, I mean, I hate to say it, I just saw a TikTok, but of all the vans operating in Utah that are actively taking surveillance, that are just like roaming around our streets. And, I would love to have a DA that is aware and actively trying to put in guardrails for a community that is unaware of how much surveillance is actually happening at all times.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I think there is a lot of surveillance that's occurring. The invasiveness of technology is all around us, right? And sometimes the way you sometimes test a antiquated law and bring it to challenge, because you have to take it into the forum to be able to test that. Right, and I think that is how we will make that two ways, right? Changes in case law in terms of if it's violative of certain principles, as well as on the front end, in the forums that we're having here, in the senators and the legislators that we're electing, to say that this is an important value that we have, and we need to think proactively about putting some of those guardrails as we open the floodgates for this technology. And that's our modern dilemma and challenge.
No specific.
No, what I'm saying is, again, that as this technology comes in, under what conditions does it come in? And if we can test that, sometimes with the defense, we'll do what's called like a Siri plea, where everybody says for the purpose, they may be chargeable, but we're stipulating to an appeal to go up to a higher level so we can test out what this law is all about, right? And that's our system that we have. A democratic system in terms of changing the law, as well as testing it within the parameters that we have. And of course, if it is constitutionally violative and violates that principle, no prosecutor is going to support that. But all I'm suggesting is this is a lot more nuanced than I can give you an answer that is going to be adequate.
Do we think that it's unconstitutional, though, to be tested as if we are guinea pigs when it comes to technology?
So, no, I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is that we are in public spaces with this technology.
Right.
Right? It is happening, and under the current laws that we have, we are told, and in the laws that have been interpreted, that we have a lesser expectation of privacy. So that is what we're going to butt up against, right? That's within the criminal justice system. And at the same time, through our participatory democracy, we can impact how that is going to be legislated. And so these are the realities that we have to grapple with as these new technologies become more invasive. That's
Yeah.
going to be, yeah.
I do agree that they are a little bit more invasive. For example, flock safety. Are you aware of flock safety? You should be.
You
Police
definitely should be.
Police departments are using, no, you're okay. Police departments are using flock safety to identify cars. So for example, if I happen to be in a neighborhood where a crime was committed and my car was picked up by flock safety, the police are now looking for me to see if I have valuable information. Why would we want to risk and put me and my family subjected to the possibility of police violence on an idea that a tool of flock safety AI just suggested do you understand what I mean?
No, I do.
Okay, I'd like an answer on it.
No, I do. And I don't think that you get to run amok with that technology, right? Because you have access to that technology, just because you're a state agent, doesn't give you carte blanche to do everything you want to do.
So will your office do what it can to prevent SLC PD from using flock safety?
Yes, so the question becomes, under what conditions is it being used? And how is it being used? And what is the parameters? And that's a case-by-case analysis. But I agree with you that our technology is overly invasive. And we need to put the appropriate guardrails on it, right?
Why go case by case? Why not set a standard that
Yeah.
all companies have to adhere to?
Why not have the Constitution be the standard?
But I think that is my point that I'm making. The Constitution is being interpreted in public spaces that way. That is our legal impediment, and that is our legal challenge, right? Because when the Constitution has been interpreted, it said that we don't have that expectation of privacy in public spaces. And when the Constitution or the Supreme Court says that, our only mechanism is the legislative process to say, okay, we're going to make a law that says that you can't do that. And we're going to enforce it that way. So that is the give and take of this nexus between technology, law, and case law that we have to live in right now.
Sean, can I give you 1 minute to respond on flock safety and you having history as a prosecutor? Just give me a response.
Sure. So a prosecutor's office needs to have very good written policies and procedures about all of these issues. And if you look at the legislative audit from December of 2025, the legislative auditor's office indicated that the current office does not have adequate written policies and procedures. And in fact, I've talked to supervisors at the DA's office, and they tell me largely there are no written policies and procedures. So proactively, what I will do on day one is start creating written policies and procedures to address issues like this, so we have uniformity. The legislative audit also said that because there are no adequate written policies, the application of prosecutor discretion is all over the place. Okay. And we need to have uniformity. And we also need to have a goal of these are the things that we want to test. And if everybody is following the same protocol, it makes it a lot easier to do that. And we know what the priorities are.
Will you collaborate with, like, I don't know, the ACLU to like implement those policies that will be established in the DA's office?
Well, I will certainly meet with and listen to other people. I mean, I read the ACLU's brief on the Liz Marion case, They had wonderful ideas in that brief. And I think that to protect people's constitutional rights, we need to draw from that expertise.
Okay.
Awesome. And one note for me is fundamentally, as fascism rises again in this country, we have to be aggressive. There is no way that we're going to get out of this without attacking the fascists, without attacking the Republican Party. So I want to make sure that the candidates bring that energy of this is not going to be, when it comes to us, it's going to be, no, I'm going to attack and defend the Constitution and make sure our rights are, enshrined in law. So I just want to highlight that. But, oh my God, guys, it's public question time. We love direct democracy. So we will now offer voting on audience-submitted questions. There will be 2 minutes to submit and vote on questions. We'll be taking the top 2. So I will give you guys 2 minutes to do those questions.
Just want to make a quick note. I'm in the question chat right now. I see some really great questions for CD1. We will be resetting this for CD1. So we're going to focus on just the questions for DA. I know you can get a little QR code, get a little scanny
QR code
moment.
here, so scan, please.
You got 2 minutes.
Ask some good questions. Really be mad. Is it my mask? Is it still too quiet or? Am I still too quiet?
No. After you read the text, it got better.
Okay. Am I still too quiet or?
Yeah, you're a little quiet. I just want to hear you.
Oh, thank you.
I wish we could hear Jeopardy music,
Oh my
but
God, that
there
would
might
be
be a
so
licensing
good.
violation. So just pretend it's there. Ken has many
I don't remember the last other part of it.
That was it. All right, did we vote? Do we like the questions for the DA?
Amazing. I can't see them.
You don't have to read them. We'll read them to you.
Yeah, I think.
No, I don't want you guys to crank your necks. Some are.
We're going to ignore the CD1. You guys weren't listening.
So if the CD candidates are here with us, ignore the questions.
We need to open our ears.
Amani, are you going to read them?
Are we ready?
Yeah. Okay. I haven't brought mine up yet. That's why I was asking.
Oh, okay. My phone's about to die, so. Yeah. Could you help us? All right. So we have heard, audience, on the moderators need to show less bias, but sorry, maybe we are biased. What about it? Okay, we're biased towards liberation and progression, mama.
Throw your own town hall.
Yeah, get out. Okay, but I love the energy in the comments, exactly. Okay, so the first one we have from the audience is, why was the first officer to be charged by your office for excessive use of force in 14 years done 6 weeks before the primaries? And I'll give that to Sim.
That's the sim.
We're going to give you guys each 2 minutes to answer these public questions.
Okay.
Okay, so here are some names. Do they ring a bell? Cowley, Carden, O'Gwyn, Pierce, Hawes, and the Pickuvut case. Those are all cases that we prosecuted cases, okay? As I mentioned in the Hawes case, that was a case that 2 weeks that we had gotten the final report from the expert, we filed it 2 weeks later. There is no one else that, when it comes to this issue, it is It drives me nuts where we are with this bullshit fucking laws that I have to fucking deal with, which it comes down to the issue of not creating a balanced approach when it comes to police accountability. That's the truth. Okay? So I've said it before. The threshold for prosecutors is kept here. The threshold for law enforcement is here. And I'm saying just give me fucking little balance. That's all I've ever wanted. Okay? If we want some changes, then we need to get our asses out and change the goddamn law. And I go out there and I talk about it, and we made a very conscious, deliberate decision. I knew that every time we go out, it is going to piss people off. And we said that, you know what? We want them to be pissed off. We want them to be informed, and we want them to be pissed off, so they go out and get politically involved to elect people who will finally change the law that will give us some goddamn balance of equality and justice in our community. That's my position on OICI.
Okay, I would be remiss if I didn't ask a follow-up, but you've had 15 years.
That's right.
So-
and so we have filed the cases that we could file. And I've gone in court and got my ass kicked for trying to do the right thing. Okay? So the part of that is that I also have a law that I have to apply. So I'm trying to constantly balance that. But at the same time, I am pushing that envelope as much as we can. You know, so here's the thing, right? Did anybody ever take a look at this? Take a look at this. I sent an open letter to the legislature and the governor, giving them 22 proposals on how we can actually balance this for our community. Change the law, change the issues and expectations. This is where the fight is. And this is where we have to balance it. I'm not afraid to fight the good fight with the cases that we can go and demonstrate that.
In
But
that document, does it include ending qualified immunity?
Yeah, there's issues about immunity there. Here's the interesting thing. A police officer goes out and creates the exigency and then uses the exigency to justify the shooting. That is what they can do today.
So I have a question for you. It's kind of a follow-up. Do you know who Patrick Harmon is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you know the status of his case?
The Patrick Harmon case.
Yes.
That was the one that we found as justified that happened on 9 South. That's the one you're talking about?
Try me again. No. Patrick Harmon, okay, his case had to go all the way to federal court because the DA would not prosecute it. You did not prosecute that case. Please Google it. Correct me right now.
And that's the one on 900 South on State Street, right?
Do you?
I'm trying to recall it. Right. And under the law, the way that unfolded, it is justified under the law in the state of Utah. It is. I don't agree with it. I don't necessarily agree with it.
If police are involved in shooting and killing a person, and then they turn around and they share that they feared for their life, even if that person was unarmed, I expect your office to show up 10 toes down.
Yeah.
Every time. And unfortunately, the last 15 years, I'm barely learning that you just prosecuted this one time, and that's disappointment from me.
Patrick Harmon was shot in the back. He called Lyndon Cameron shooting unjustified and didn't charge him.
There's many police brutality victims, many families who continue to fight for change, the change that you claim to have in that document, but I need more. Because I'm tired of going to funerals. I'm sure you all are tired of going to vigils. I'm sure the children are tired of seeing dead people in our neighborhoods because the police cannot control themselves and nobody can hold them accountable. I expect that from the DA's office. 10 toes every time.
Yeah, so let's go to Sean.
Go for it.
And it's just, I mean, you can just speak to the question. It's not directed towards you, though.
So, Lyndon Cameron, a 13-year-old autistic boy who did not have a weapon, had a bit of a mental breakdown. He's walking away from police officers. He gets shot 9 times. The DA's office did say that was unjustified but didn't file charges. I, for the life of me, cannot understand why charges were not filed. You prosecute that case, you get a conviction. I don't believe the burden is as tough as my opponent says it is.
Agree.
If a police officer reasonably believes that he or she, that death is imminent or serious bodily injury is imminent for he or another person, or for the police officer or another person, they're justified in using force. That's the standard. Either a police officer is justified or a police officer is not justified. The way you test these cases is you file charges, you get a conviction, the defendant appeals it, and then we have case law. That is the way it works. Sending an open letter with 22 suggestions to the legislature doesn't do anything. And I will note that I'm not aware of any efforts by the DA's office to have laws passed that would change the police officer involved shooting statute. So the way you test it is you file charges, you go to trial, you let a jury decide, and then if it goes up on appeal, we have case law. But I look at the Hawes case, for example. That's a case the DA's office had for a year and a half. I've been calling the DA's office out for not prosecuting police officers 6 weeks before the primary charges get filed.
Okay,
I
that's
believe
fine.
it's political.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, so, we're good, sorry.
There are so many
I just
phones on
wanna
that
note-
desk.
What, go ahead.
There are so many phones on that desk.
I know, I like your phone locked and I couldn't see the question. So we're gonna ask one more question, but I want to note on the bias comment, I have another follow-up on that. The facts are biased towards what we're talking about, right? When we talk about bias, it's like, okay, we want this neutrality, that's false. This is not just neutral. It is true that white supremacy is killing black and brown bodies. That is true, that is factual, and that is what the data shows. So it would actually be biased if I was up here being neutral. Anyway, so DA, and this is gonna be to Sean, you first. What will you do to stop the collaboration between ICE and the PD that is already happening?
Between ICE and what?
And
The police
PD.
department.
Yeah, police department.
Well, I don't think the police department should be helping ICE at all, frankly. I mean, when you look at other ICE facilities, it's ICE agents that are providing the security, that are responding when there are issues at that facility. If it is a federally controlled building, the feds ought to be policing and not our police department.
What about Matheson Courthouse, where ICE is in the basement?
I agree. We should not be helping ICE. That's my
Okay,
personal view.
But it's already happened.
Okay, audience.
Well, so it is happening, and what we can do is if they are breaking the law, we prosecute them. I mean, we cannot interfere with a lawful federal investigation, but the second they break the law, we can prosecute them. We can be extremely tough on crime for those ICE agents, and they're going to think twice.
Thank you. And I do want to note, they are correct that they have limited authority when it comes to regards of the federal government. So I do want to note that they do have limited power. There are stations which they operate within, so we do have to think about that, and they're of course thinking about that themselves. Sim.
To your question, this is my thing on local law enforcement. They're here to protect local communities, not to do federal enforcement. End of conversation. But here's the thing, right? So I think that one of the things that we have to do is that we have to talk to our mayors, because mayors appoint chiefs of police.
True.
Chiefs of police also set policy and they execute on that, right? So if you want to have leverage of that conversation and communicate that, then every mayor who's a municipal mayor in Salt Lake County or anywhere, they're the ones who hired the chief of police. You as a community have the right and power to request that conversation and to communicate what your expectation of that enforcement policy should be. And that can have an immediate impact today when you have that conversation, right? We as prosecutors are limited in the tools that we have in that. But I can tell you, when it comes to law enforcement, local law enforcement, that is not federal law enforcement. And that is a choice that we make. And there's other communities that choose differently, right? The thing that when it comes to ICE, one of the things that I want everyone to do is that when we witness a crime or you're impacted by that, every person has a right to file a police report, because we need to document it. We need to preserve the evidence, right? And we need to talk to communities like Salt Lake City PD to have that happen. And if they don't do it, let me say it this way. I have Category 1 officers who are investigators in my office. I will take your police report. I will preserve your evidence, because when this change after the midterms occur, when fascism's authoritarian little neck under the tent goes away, we need to come back with those records to be able to have this conversation about accountability, okay? This is a long game that we're fighting. We're not going to win this overnight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, give the DA a round of applause. Give Sean Robinson a round of applause. Give the audience a round of applause. We will now have a 10-minute bio break. Bathrooms are on the basement level, accessible through these doors or from the stairs in the main level foyer. Oh, I'm lying. It's a 5-minute break.
Run.
Run.
No, wait, it's right, but we're 5 minutes behind.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Good debate. What does this mean?
I'm here for it. Long term. And two. And it's doing municipal work.
I'm doing municipal stuff, so
Yeah, like this is.
I know you guys are limited. What did that text mean? Just to repeat the question?
Yeah, when the questions are being asked from the audience.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'm trying not to encourage. I'm trying not to encourage bad behavior.
I know. Me too. I'm like in the middle.
And speaking of the microphone is huge, and
I'm sorry.
they're just having trouble hearing you.
Oh, dang it. It's because of my mask. Can the audience hear me at least here? I'm pretty sure.
I swear to God, I hear all the crazy shit you don't know. When I do I still my you know, I feel good. Thank you. It's an important.
Yes debate last month. You were so proud of your successful coalition building that you mentioned it 9 separate times. We're surprised, considering your record of voting against unions and against raising the minimum wage. We're surprised, considering your overall legislative record leaned heavily conservative compared to the rest of the Democratic caucus. We're surprised because you frequently cut spending at the expense of expanding robust social safety nets, and you accepted corporate PAC money, including donations linked to private prisons. Considering all of this, we at the 71% are wondering who is in this coalition that you are so proud of, and if we can expect any people of color to be a part of it. Ben, if you want to answer us, please do. We will publish any answer you have to our website. I believe you have our email already.
Go ahead. You're blue. Sorry, guys.
They were
Okay.
just so impressed by my question.
I know. I was blown
flabbergasted.
away. My bad. Okay. So we are going to start with some questions for the CD1 candidates. Starting simple. If you win the bid for Congressional District 1, do you agree to meet with the 71% quarterly in a public forum like this one? Okay, raise your hand, yes or no. Thumbs up and hands raised. Type. All right, so how will you hold yourself accountable if you fail to meet the 71?
It's only if no. No one answered.
Oh, just kidding. Live.
JK.
All right. Now we will, now we will address consolidating the progressive field in CD1. I know that's everyone's favorite question in the room.
Me too.
Although we feel that taking time addressing this issue is a great disservice to constituents who really want to hear about policy, nevertheless, this issue is top of mind in the progressive community and has to be addressed. This seat is huge and a big opportunity for Utah, flipping a seat blue, and by refusing to consolidate, you're all undercutting that opportunity. We need to know, what is your justification for ignoring community requests to consolidate, knowing that this could impact us and increase the likelihood of McAdams winning, which will harm us long-term? So this question is going to be for all of you, and you each have 1 minute to respond, and we're going to start with Laban and then work this way, okay? Go ahead.
Starting off spicy.
It has to be. It has to be.
Look, the reality of egos, the male ego, all three of us have a lot of that. It's our weakness. That's right. But let's just be real here. The three of us on this stage, we all care. And the three of us on this stage are also not going to be your savior. And this campaign, this new district, this new possibility is not about any one of us. And real change is not going to come from any one person. It's not going to come from myself. It comes from the people who feel left out of this process, who finally have a chance at representation, people who are left without health coverage, people who are from the immigrant communities, people of color, who finally have an opportunity, And we organized with those folks. We told them, if you organize, if you register to vote, we registered almost a third of all new registered Democrats in the state of Utah, just so you know. That if you show up,
That's time.
you have your voice, you can attain real power,
That's time.
you can get a seat at the table.
Uh-oh.
And I can't look at-
Am I being listened to? Are we being listened to? Hey, Ray, continue.
You will have more time, Laban, don't worry. We're not
We're not done.
We're not
Yeah.
moving away
This
from
is
this
just
issue.
a warm-up.
Yeah, this is just a warm-up question, okay?
Oof.
All right, Michael, 1 minute. Time.
What was the specific question?
There you go.
Yeah, I have entered this race the goal of me entering this race was not to beat Ben McAdams. The goal was to win the primary and win the general election. I've run a policy-focused campaign, not mudslinging, not attacking anyone else. And I'm proud of having run a policy-specific race, a race that hasn't gotten dirty, hasn't tried to, bully other candidates out of the race, hasn't tried to demand that other people drop out and back me for reasons. I am proud of the policies that I push forward. Those policies are better than any policies than any other candidate on the stage, including Ben McAdams. And I'm confident that I could beat Ben in the primary and win in the general election. And that is my feeling on that.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, my goal when I got into this race was to beat Ben McAdams because we deserve better than that sort of representation. This is someone that's voted against raising the minimum wage, voted against the PRO Act. He's voted against protecting public lands. This is not the right representation for this seat. My track record in the legislature is of someone who will stand up for these core values. During the last debate that we had here, I believe I was the only candidate on this stage who said I would not drop out.
This is true.
If it came to this place that we are in now. Now I am the only candidate saying I would have dropped out. We put a non-biased poll out there. The methodology was clear. We made that very, yes, it was paid by me. We have the resources to put that out there. And so we did that.
Audience, please.
It was a sample of the voting population that is overrepresentative of what we have seen in past elections. And so that is, I think, indicative of where this race is headed and shows what we need to do here.
I want to make a note about the poll, and this is my perspective. Nate did commission the poll, and also it was an independent pollster. Also, it underrepresented BIPOC individuals in the district. However, it is a good metric for understanding where the race is currently at.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I also just want to remind the audience that we are going to spend at least 20 minutes on this
Yeah,
topic.
so
So
this is just the beginning.
don't worry, we're going to get to it. If you have a thought, I hope we have covered it. And if not, please scan your QR code and put your question in the chat. If it's good enough, it'll get voted up and you can hear your question asked directly. No?
All right. So another question, and this is a minute for each. When the community asked you three progressive candidates to come together and reach an agreement on consolidation, one of you never showed up. The other two had one meeting. Given the chances of you succeeding is statistically diminishing daily, why should we even discuss your policy positions when the chances of you being elected to enact them are evaporating before our eyes? And the progressive movement as a whole suffers from this stalemate. Michael, you're first.
Yeah, I believe I was the one who didn't show up. I went to a screening of film by Utah Jews for Palestine at the time. But the argument is that we shouldn't discuss any of our policies because they won't get done.
The question is, when your chances of, basically the question is asking, why should we even entertain you guys when it seems that you're unable to put the progressive movement first rather than your egos?
Sure. I have advanced and talked about the policies that I would stand on, that I would fight for. Though we're running to be legislators. We're running to get policies through. We're running to pass bills. That's the whole point of this. So I am not here to pull theatric stunts. I'm not here to complain that other people aren't supporting me. I'm here to push for policies. That's all we would do as legislators. So that is all we should be talking about, is the policies that we are going to fight for and that we're going to advocate for and that are going to encourage folks to support us, including more moderate and conservative voters that might otherwise support Ben. Like, we are not limited to a subset of voters that are identified as progressives. We have the ability to reach to more moderate voters with good policy discussions and actually fighting for those policies.
I'll give you another 30 seconds. I think that was a dodge. I think I'll give you another 30 seconds. That was a dodge.
What if I put it this way, Michael? In terms of consolidating progressive power in Utah, we have 3 candidates who seem to be agreed mostly, not super different in their policy. Why not consolidate progressive power, come together and say, hey, we need a new mayor. Hey, we need a new senator. Hey, we need a chief of staff, and do what every other political coalition is doing, which is working together. Is it this race or nothing for you? Is it so ego-driven that this is the only place you could see yourself serving the community, when there is a chance for you guys to have consolidated power and decided where you're going to run each other as, coworkers, rather than buying into the fact that you're running against each other for one race and therefore have to hate each other?
Yeah, by the time that Nate tried to ask us by having someone else text us to consolidate, none of us could actually drop out. None of us can at this point drop out. So consolidate, a lot of people in this room have already voted. But none of us are running to, I won't speak for anyone else. I'm not running for Michael Farrell platform. I'm running to push for my policies, the policies that I support, the things that I support. And I have not heard from Nate or Laban those same policies pushing for those kind of things.
Okay.
We can move on, but I do want to note that Nate did not call for the consolidation of power. Progressive community members called, and then Nate got
posted on
called.
my Instagram story.
So it wasn't a 3 of you who had that meeting because the 3 of you got the idea too. People were worried in the community, and then that is when the call came.
Thank you. Nate, 1 minute.
Yeah, I did have a conversation with Liban about consolidating months ago, and it didn't go well. It didn't go far, and I think that was unfortunate that it turned into a who's going to do what sort of thing. And here we are. This is still a winnable race. We've seen outside groups dump millions into this race just today, so they are worried. And we have built a coalition that can actually win this race, that is able to get to work on day one in DC. Bernie Sanders, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, labor unions, all those other types I've talked about more than I ever wanted to. And I have pushed for the types of policies that Michael is talking about in the legislature. And as, not to wade into the DA discussion, but Sim is right, the legislature sucks. And he needs help up there. Whoever wins that seat needs help up there passing progressive policy on criminal justice, because it's not happening in the current scenario. So we can go and do that from DC. That's what I'm focused on.
Thank you. That's time.
All right, Liban.
As you can tell today, none of my answers are going to be anything on these papers. I'm just speaking from the heart.
Okay.
I think a lot of what we're hearing today is all of us still speaking from our ego. But I also want to ask a question to the crowd, because it is true that it is this movement, it is this crowd who are involved, who are calling for the consolidation to occur. And the question I want to ask you all is, why is it that calls for consolidation why is this call only occurring once a self-funded poll goes out that favors him? But this question was not asked prior to April 29th, which was when the lieutenant governor certified the ballots, or on May 8th, when the ballots were being printed. Because I'll tell you right now, that was 4 days after we beat Ben McAdams. We're talking about who can beat Ben McAdams. There's only one statistical piece of evidence that even exists of doing so. Ranked choice, perfect. You know what ranked choice shows? The ability to coalesce. All of his voters came after me. And guess what happened when that happened? We got 51.12% of the vote. What his poll demonstrates is a slate of 4 candidates, not a scenario of consolidation.
That's time.
If you want a poll, do 1v1 versus Ben. I have that poll.
Thank
we
you,
got
Laban.
51.1%.
Don't worry. We will give you more
Don't worry,
chance to
we got
talk.
more questions, guys.
There will be more chance.
Hold it with me. All right, so now I'm going to move on. These are going to be specific questions for each candidate, and you have 2 minutes to respond. The first question is to Nate. Nate, considering your past legislative performance with 0 bills passing, why not take this time to focus on bills at legislature and support a candidate in this race with your self-suspension or withdrawal in the race? 2 minutes.
Yeah, so thank you. We put that poll out there as an indicator of who had the best chance to win in a head-to-head race, and that's what we're looking at here. My record in the legislature speaks to someone who has tried to put legislation forward that brings community members up, that gets people excited about policies. We have had so many fights go on at the legislature opposing the bad legislation that's getting run, and I don't see Democrats enough proposing a significant increase to the minimum wage, proposing a universal health care program, proposing bills to prevent cooperation amongst ICE and local law enforcement. Those were all things I proposed just this year, and I want to see people doing more of that. I want to rally our communities behind us, get them up to the legislature, get people excited about the process, because if we just keep collaborating with Republicans, like I see far too often, taking corporate campaign contributions from the same lobbyist donors that are supporting people on both sides of the aisle, we're never going to build the political power to actually overcome the supermajority in this state, and that's what I want to see happen. So as a someone who moves beyond the primary, hopefully, my goal will be to elect Democrats here in Utah that are going to go up to the legislature and fight for those policies and to help in that area. But I firmly believe, based off of the over 10,000 donations we have, the fact that we spent a fraction of the cost to gather signatures of any other campaign because we had volunteers doing that effort, the coalition we've built of folks who are ready to get to work on day one when I'm elected, we've got the best chance to win here. And that's the perspective that I have coming in, and the perspective that I'm going to take to DC to fight for the same policies that I fought for here in Utah and actually get them across the line with the coalition that's ready to get to work.
Nate, I noticed that you talked a lot about building progressive power. Why not go for 2 seats instead of 1? You say that you're the only one who had a chance to win the race. Obviously, Uban was competitive at the what was it called? The convention. So there are people who are competitive besides you. What do you say to somebody who wished that you had built progressive power by going for 2 races instead of 1?
Can I sum that up?
Waiting on your CD1 candidacy to maybe go run for something else. Putting yourself behind somebody, knowing that maybe you would go for, mayor or something like that.
Oh yeah, I'm not interested in other positions. I mean, I've banged my head at the legislature. I don't want to serve in municipal office. I think those are super important issues, but they are not for me to focus on. And so this is a seat where I see the issues that I want to focus on saving the Great Salt Lake, on addressing healthcare, on addressing the education system. All those things are places where we can make a serious difference with someone who's going to fight for those things in DC, like I've done here in Utah.
Okay,
this goes
thank you.
for my follow-up. So it could be beneficial for Utahns to have a self-labeled progressive senator and a congressperson working together. So why wouldn't you consider staying in the Senate seat and then working with the congressperson?
It's too late for that. So, I mean, I've supported the Democratic Socialist running for my Senate seat because I think he would be the strongest choice to actually go up and push the same sort of agenda that I was trying to fight for in that seat as well. I think there are other good candidates in that seat as well that are running for my Senate seat, but I had to choose that back in March, I think it was, when I had to make that distinction about whether I was going to continue running for this seat or, make the last minute decision to stick in the Senate.
All right, thank you. Next section is for Michael, and we will be asking questions and follow-ups. You have 2 minutes. Michael, considering the performance at convention and the available polling, why not withdraw your campaign and support a candidate for CD1 and plan future endeavors for a local election?
Yeah, I entered the race in early March, as people here are aware, which was by far the latest of anybody. I entered because I didn't see anybody in the race who was actually speaking to the tax issues that I was concerned about, had plans to get healthcare reform done the way that I thought about it, things like that. And I am a political neophyte. I did not know anything about caucus night, so I had no plans to rally any kind of support like that. And I showed up at convention a month and change after I entered the campaign and did fine. I ended up 4th. I'm fully aware of that fact. And I am in this race committed to fighting for the policies that I have pushed for, that I have expertise on as a tax attorney for 12 years. Nobody else in this race has that knowledge and that level of expertise that I bring to the table for that. And I don't think that anybody who were to win in the primary or in the general election would actually be able to get those things done, whether a track record of not passing bills or a track record like Ben McAdams of being a hyper-conservative Democrat. He would not push for the same things that I would. So I'm committed to getting these substantive real changes done and pushing those forward in this race.
If it had been offered to you, would you have consolidated power and worked with Nate on his campaign after he won the election, like if you had been approached? Or would you have maybe run for something else? Is this the only seat that you're interested in?
No, this is the first race I've run. This is not the only seat that I'm interested in. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. That was the question.
One follow-up for me. So why not, I mean, I believe that Nate's poll is reputable. Why not drop out, give your expertise to one of the other two candidates and, grow the movement in Utah?
Again, no one at this point can drop out. Like,
You can drop out. You just will be on the ballot. You can still drop out, just a
okay,
fact check.
yes. So we would all be on the ballot. Yes. The question was, why would I not give
So
my
why
expertise
not,
to Nate?
lend your, because I feel that both the other candidates would take you on as an advisor to tax policy. So why not give that perspective to both the other candidates and, drop out and give them, either one of them, a better chance?
You'd make a good chief of staff to somebody.
I'm not running to be chief of staff to push on tax policy alone. That I have more than just yes, I'm a tax attorney, and that is something I've highlighted. That's the only way we would get any of these more affordable things that we talk about done. But I'm not running to be tax chief of staff in Congress.
Okay, thank you. To you, Ray.
Okay, so these next questions are actually policy questions.
It's Leban.
Oh, just kidding.
Sorry.
Laban, there are concerns about your willingness and history to work with conservatives combined with your work in big tech, and constituents are worried you might be more moderate than progressive. Considering these concerns and the results of a ranked choice voting from convention, why not consider withdrawing your campaign and supporting a candidate to reduce the names on the ballot?
And just to note, you can't reduce the names yet, but you can still drop out. You can't reduce the names on the ballot at this point, but you can still drop out.
First, I'd like to address the first part of that question. We need 218 votes to change people's lives. 218 votes. And what we need is a leader whose love for the people exceeds their hate for the system. Because if one's hate for the system blinds them from their purpose and blinds them from their ability to be productive, then we have failed. I'm not interested in performance. I'm interested in tangible results and leading with a character that produces them. That is what it's about. There's a difference between compromise and being able to resonate. There's a difference between performing your values, virtue signaling, and trying to sit down and educate people to join this movement for healthcare as a human right. Now, to ask, it was 2 questions, so I'd like a little bit extra time. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna tell you something that nobody else on the stage will tell you. I have failed. I have failed everybody here in this crowd because I recognize why it's so important for this progressive movement to consolidate. I recognize what that means is for the people in Gaza who might have representation that's going to continue to fund their genocide. I recognize all these things. And it sits in my heart deeply. And honestly, I look at myself in the mirror every day and I ask myself if I'm doing the right thing. But here's the thing. I failed to do that by April 29th. I failed to rise up and be the leader that I promised, to sit down with these folks and convince them and persuade them why I believe I'm that right person. But after April 29th, those ballots were certified. We won the Democratic Convention. We have 4 days to be a leader, and we didn't do it. And guess what? We're gonna do it now. And I'm not gonna look at all those people that we told that they have a voice, that their voice matters, that they show up. If they organize, they can attain real power.
you.
I can't tell them now that we are gonna be the ones that submit
time.
that ability. No, we're gonna continue to organize. We're gonna do it. Help us win
time.
that. Win.
The next question is a policy question. Okay, so we're gonna move on to policy. Please scan the QR code and submit your questions because we're tight on time. Cool? All candidates will have a chance to answer each question. You'll have 2 minutes to respond. Please respect the time. The state of foreign policy is in disarray. War rages in Iran. The American settler colonial project of Israel is in a state of failure. Meanwhile, bills like H.R. 867 and H.R. 3050 increase support for that project. If appointed to Congress, how will you support our capability to boycott and divest from Israel in occupied Palestine? Michael, you can go first.
Yeah, if elected and honored to serve the folks at CD1, I would push for cuts to all aid to Israel, not just military funding, but not offensive, not defensive, cut all money to Israel, because any dollar that we send for the Iron Dome, any dollar we send for food, they just move that money around, and it's missiles and it's troops to occupy Gaza, to occupy Palestine, to invade Lebanon, to expand their empire. So I would cut all funding to Israel, and then BDS movements, BDS protests, that is already protected by the First Amendment. That should go without saying, but obviously that is not true in the minds of so many legislators in Congress in here in Utah. So I would push for a bill affirmatively stating that any kind of BDS protest, any kind of things like that, similar political speech is protected under the First Amendment, just as clarifying legislation to, protect that fundamental right to protest. So cutting aid to Israel, conditioning the resumption of any aid to Israel on the actual concrete binding steps towards a two-state solution, not just we talk about it, it's not getting anywhere since 1948, no one's getting anything done, but requiring that if Israel is to receive another dollar of aid from the U.S., for another dollar of money, period, from the U.S., they have to commit to certain concrete established timelines for setting up an independent Palestinian state.
Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, so just this past session, I ran a bill to repeal Utah's anti-BDS law, which has been on the books for several years now, that actually multiple candidates in this race no one on this stage supported. That was an interesting experience. I actually had a Republican lobbyist come up to me, I think on the last night of session or 2 days before the end of session, and basically say, thank you for running that. I've signed contracts that have those sorts of stipulations in them, and it's a violation of our free speech. So we should preempt states at the federal level from taking action on those laws. I voted against some expansions of Utah's anti-BDS law when it tried to include, ended up including things like guns and coal and just all this weird stuff about you can't boycott these things. So that's ridiculous that we're telling people those sorts of things. Our foreign policy is broken. We need to remove all aid, offensive, defensive, financial aid from Israel as they continue to perpetrate genocide. I've spoken up for years. I looked back on my timeline because I've been critiqued for some of my positions and found a post from 2018 stating that I believed what was happening in colonialized West Bank was terrorism sponsored by the U.S. So, that's where I come from. That's what I'm going to continue to advocate for, to make sure that we have a foreign policy based in dignity and humanitarianism, and rebuilding diplomacy, in investing here in our communities rather than dropping bombs overseas. These are all critical to rebuilding the safety of the world. I mean, we are creating in our financing of these sorts of imperial ventures a world that is less safe than it could be otherwise. And so that's my commitment, is to fight for diplomacy, for humanitarian aid, for U.S. aid, for other programs that do a much better job than continuing to fund war and death overseas.
Go ahead, Levan.
Both of these pieces of legislation that are being talked about right now, the anti-BDS thing, the other bill, they're both fundamentally about freedom of speech, freedom of expression. When I worked at TikTok, I know people hate it, but I worked there. The reality is this: I spent each and every day from October 7th up until my last day focused on the freedom of expression of the pro-Palestinian movement. I spent getting yelled at by Jonathan Greenblatt of ADL, by the AIPAC, by pro-Israel, lobby, elected officials for this very thing. And when I felt like my integrity was being jeopardized, when I felt like we were no longer working towards the right thing and the protection of their speech, I quit my job. I decided to come home. I went to work for the village that raised me to fight these motherfuckers that don't want us to speak. They don't want us to speak. And I will continue that same fight when I am elected to Congress, and to ensure that the pro-Palestinian movement is not silenced, to ensure that Americans are able to exercise their freedom of expression, whether it be with their dollar, with their tongue, or their typing online.
Thank you. The next question is on ICE and police brutality. ICE and police are part of the same system, a system which is working exactly how it was intended, resulting in Gestapo-like disappearances and outright murder. If elected to Congress, what actions will you take to fight against local militarized policing and federal militarized policing in Utah and nationwide? To Nate first.
Yeah, abolish ICE, demilitarize our police force, stop programs that allow local police forces to purchase or receive weapons of war that don't belong in our communities, that don't belong overseas either, but that certainly don't belong on our streets here in Utah. Over the last few weeks, I've worked with some folks in this room to try and reduce the amount of cooperation that is happening between Salt Lake City Police Department and ICE. It's been very frustrating to see them sitting out there protecting this facility that is going to potentially imprison thousands of people. And we've been able to have them walk that back a bit. It is not enough, and them just sitting down the street rather than on the actual property maybe is a step in the right direction, but we need to go further and ban those sorts of 287G agreements, everything like that, that is allowing our local police forces to enforce these sorts of operations. So I fully support huge investments in things like restorative justice, in making sure that we're abolishing prisons here in our country, because we do imprison. I think we heard this during the DA's debate or otherwise tonight, but we imprison more people in this country than any other nation on the planet. I think both per capita and in an absolute, and that's ridiculous. There are so many better ways to do this. My family has experienced the power of restorative justice, and I see that as a model to work towards rehabilitation rather than just incarcerating more people and locking more people up and putting them through the horrors of the justice system that works for a few, like my friend Casey, who was just written about in the Deseret News for going through his term and then starting a business and coming out. That system worked for him. It doesn't work for way too many people, and we need to make it work.
Thank you. Next up is going to be Levan.
The ethos of this campaign, I'm sure I'm a broken record on this, is about American diplomacy abroad, but most importantly, our own dignity right here at home. We need community policing, not armed militants with guidelines from the Israel Defense Force. What we need is more social workers, less armed militants. What we need is to abolish ICE and build an immigration system that is rooted in our shared humanity. That means pathways to citizenship. That means to ensure that every single person that steps on the United States of America's soil, our beloved country, has a legal right to representation and due process. That means that we're not only making sure that we're not separating families, mothers and their children, fathers and their children from each other and putting them in detention camps, but we're also, on top of that, doing the work to reunite families. It is time for a new generation of leadership that's focused on our own American prosperity right here at home and not investing in all these things that are taking up all of our resources. And an immigration enforcement system that's taking away capital from enforcing CSAM and all these other things that are underfunded when we're talking about prosecution. We need a new generation of leadership that's heart is fundamentally in the same place that every other American's is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of the same sentiments that Nathan Lamont said, but abolishing ICE, taking the funding that is going to ICE and putting that into a brand new Department of Immigration Services under DOJ. DOJ is currently corrupt and broken, but used to not be broken, used to be able to actually handle things in a professional manner. ICE and CBP, frankly. CBP has gone way under the radar on the abuse and violence that they perpetrated. So funding for CBP also should be cut, and oversight. Like, we actually need, especially like aggressive oversight of leadership in all departments of Department of Homeland Security, but ICE and CBP. And then ending qualified immunity. Like, the construct of qualified immunity that we talked about earlier in the DA race is a made-up judicial doctrine. Congress can just overturn the Supreme Court's made-up judicial doctrine of qualified immunity if we have enough people in there with the smarts to know how to do it and to fight back against the bullshit about protecting this made-up thing to let cops get away with killing people. And then ending the 287G consent agreements. Like, this is commandeering local police forces. That is already unconstitutional. We're allowing it because we don't have people in charge who care to fight back on this. And then cutting funding, that's more at the local level, but cutting and blocking any kind of funding going to Topaz 2.0, blocking that, whether it's water rights or zoning violations, anything we can do to work with local and state leaders to push back on that. And then, yeah, ending any kind of possibility of cooperation with local police and ICE is a way to go. And then putting the money that we have left over from defunding ICE and hiring hundreds of immigration judges. I do a lot of pro bono work with undocumented persons, so I see the system that they're stuck in. They're stuck in limbo for years. We'll fill out applications. They are applying for visas. They want to work. They want to come out of the shadows. They want to live normal lives. And then they'll have to wait for like 5 years because there's no judge who can look at it, because nobody cares about the process, because we have a broken immigration system and nobody's been trying to fix it. They've just been using it as a tool and a cudgel to attack Republicans or attack Democrats. But like, actually fixing it, actually clearing out the backlog helps people's lives and helps them get out of the shadows.
Thank you. Okay. This is the last policy question. If you have a question, please scan the QR code and vote for your favorites. Healthcare has become the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States. While we as a nation are comfortably able to fund Israel's universal healthcare in occupied Palestine, considering the attitude of Republicans and even most established Democrats, in your opinion, what is the best legislative path to affordable healthcare for all? Levan, let's go. We're gonna go this way.
Look, we spend more money on healthcare than any nation on earth. Yet we are the only wealthy nation that doesn't guarantee coverage. So it is abundantly clear that it's not about the resources that are going into this that's the problem, but how those resources are being allocated. With a single-payer system like Medicare for All, we can have full coverage for everyone while simultaneously reducing overall costs. It is an absolute no-brainer. And the only reason this doesn't occur is because of unlimited money in our politics. So you want to talk about the viable solution forward is taking the unlimited money that's spent in our politics out. And when we talk about full coverage, that means covering reproductive freedom to not only be a freedom, but something that people can actually have access to. That means covering gender-affirming care. It means full coverage for everyone and ensuring the millions of Americans who are left without health coverage are no longer so. We join our peer nations in something that is economical and saves our lives. A single trip to the hospital shall not be the reason an American citizen, our neighbor, should go bankrupt. That is immoral in the wealthiest nation in the history of humanity.
Michael?
Yeah, I am not bragging at all about this. This is probably one of the worst things in my life to say I have a lived experience with this, but I think everybody here already knows the story. I hate talking about it, but when I was 21, my mom got sick, spent 5 days in a hospital, and walked away with a $150,000 bill and 6 months to live. And this hospital chased us the whole time she was sick. They never followed up to see how she was doing. It was, where is our effing money? And she died worried about this stupid fucking bill hanging over her head. So she avoided medical bankruptcy by dying. And we are the richest country on the planet. Like, that is a system that is evil and immoral, but that is just the system that we live in. This was in November of 2009. It was before Obamacare, and we still have people who go through medical bankruptcy. It's a broken system. It doesn't work for anybody but private insurance companies and the big pharma. And the solution, yes, it's single payer healthcare, Medicare for all, universal healthcare, I don't care what you call it, but getting everybody access to high quality, affordable care, getting rid of copays, getting rid of deductibles, getting rid of all these stupid things that we have to figure out. We're gonna go see a doctor, are they in network? It's a waste of everybody's time, and it only is propped up because of money, like Levon said, money in politics, bought and paid for politicians, or politicians that don't know or care about how to fix it. I have the exact solution for how to fix it. We get rid of, I'll be boring, I'm a tax attorney, but get rid of the tax deduction for employer-sponsored premiums. We prop up through our paychecks the private insurance industry. Like, they are taking that out of our wallets. I have talked to Republican friends and they're like, how do we get rid of that? And I say, vote for Democrats. And getting rid of that, lowering the age of eligibility for Medicare to 0, we have a boom, 350 plus million Americans are in the system. And then raising the investment tax that already applies to the 1% for Medicare, raising that so that nobody outside of the 99%, bottom 99% pays any more in taxes. We will have the largest customer base in the world, and we will get rid of an evil private insurance company.
Indeed.
Nate, go ahead.
Vote for some Democrats. Don't vote for Ben McAdams because he is. Period. Yeah. He sponsored the balanced budget amendment, which is a Republican proposal that would basically make things like Medicare for all illegal during his last term. So we should not support that. I am endorsed by the sponsors of Medicare for all legislation in both the Senate and the House in D.C., Pramila Jayapal and Bernie Sanders. I am ready to get to work with them on day one to make this a reality. I know the struggle of dealing with medical debt. I had several injuries after I moved to Utah back in the 2009, 2012, era, and it was like I had no path forward. You have tens of thousands of dollars hanging over your head. You don't have a good job. You don't have insurance covering it because your job isn't providing that either. And it's ridiculous. It ties people to a job they hate. We can move forward with a Medicare for all system that reduces costs, like I think both other candidates have talked about. We can reduce those costs dramatically by expanding the pool, by getting the middlemen out, the pharmacy benefit managers, by closing those tax loopholes that incentivize employers to be in the healthcare business when they shouldn't be. And we need to make this coverage universal. Whoever needs it can get it. It should cover reproductive health care. Ben McAdams supports the Hyde Amendment, which prevents women on Medicaid from getting access to reproductive health care. That's ridiculous. It should cover gender-affirming care, mental, dental, all those sorts of things. Let's make it happen, and it's going to be a top priority if I'm elected.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to note, the screen above is showing each candidate and the donors.
Interesting.
I see you guys looking and questioning. That is what that is.
Wait, that's funny. Okay, so we're short on time, so I want to keep it pushing.
So if you have any questions, did you submit them in the QR code? Because I'm looking through them right now, and we're going to get ready to ask them. You have about 60 seconds to put in your question.
I don't think Ben McAdams had the exact same donors as Nate Lewin, right? That can't possibly be true.
Oh, maybe they're.
I doubt Schmidt Hot Chocolate is donating to Ben McAdams or Jeff.
So one thing I do know is I don't question the Church of Protest.
Yeah.
And when they
I
use
didn't
their
put it together, bro.
technology,
You're yelling at
if
the
they
wrong
made a
person.
mistake, they will fix it.
So we have two top questions. So I know people still need to maybe vote, but I feel like we're just going to keep it pushing, and we're going to read the top two right now. So these are audience submitted questions, and there'll be 1 minute for each candidate on each question. We're going to have two. So the first one is data centers, and I'm going to read verbatim. Who's going to shut this shit down? Why can we trust the right candidate to stand up for the people over big tech? And I'll give that to Michael first in 1 minute.
Sorry.
Michael.
Sorry. Oh, I'm old.
I'm sorry.
I'm being slightly deaf. Yeah, I've called for a full ban on data centers. I of all the candidates, I think I hate AI the most. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we are wasting resources, water. We're polluting the environment for Kevin O'Leary, for a bunch of rich jerks like Anthropic and this. It's an AI bubble. The money is cycling around. It's going to burst. And then the taxpayers, we are going to be held holding the bag and bailing these people out when all, capitalism for thee, capitalism for me, socialism for thee. We're gonna have to bail them out again. So a ban on data centers, I don't care to hear that a data center is not using more water. It's a closed loop system. Where the hell is the water coming from? And if it's coming and being put in a data center, put it into the Great Salt Lake. Great, we have a data center water. Let's take it out of the data center, put it in the lake. So a full ban on data centers.
Thank you. Nate, you're next.
Yeah, I've called for a moratorium, which to me is a full ban until we figure out what the heck to do with these things, because what's happening now is ridiculous. Ben McAdams has stake in a data center. He has a financial interest in seeing that get built. He is getting the benefit of millions of dollars, we found out today, in super PAC money from Trump donors, Mark Andreessen and others who are big in the data center space and the AI space. So we need to fight back against these things in our communities. We can't just call for them to be pushed out of Utah. It has to be a nationwide proposal, because we are seeing marginalized communities in other states, like in Tennessee specifically, getting data centers with diesel generators, natural gas generators that are polluting communities dumped into their backyards. So I don't know how long it's going to take to figure this out. It might be 6 months, it might be a year, it might be 5 for all I care. Let's prevent this from moving forward until we have a plan. And I think Bernie Sanders has also called for a sovereign wealth fund. Let's take a stake in these massive companies and turn that money into something that is going to do good for the public, because you're going to see good union jobs get cut away by these facilities, and we need to make that right.
And I want to note, to your point, Nate, that Ben McAdams has gotten $1.55 million in the last little bit, and most of that money is coming from big tech and AI, specifically OpenAI and Palantir. So I think that says enough. Boo! All right, and we're gonna finish with the Ben. Go ahead with the data center question.
A pause without a plan simply delays the issue. I have a competent plan. And what that plan is, a robust framework to address the environmental concerns that we all know are reality. And it's a competent plan. It's a prohibition of all hyperscale data center development in water-stressed areas, which we all in this room know that Utah is beyond water-stressed. It's clean energy, making sure that we have 100% renewable energy requirements, making sure that in places that have the water abundance to be able to handle this critical infrastructure, that we have water neutral requirements. It's making sure that we have cost causation rules, because if we have to build a new substation, a new transmission line, because of this privatized interest, we are not going to socialize costs and privatize gains. You cause the cost, you pay for the cost. This is competence, this is a plan. This is somebody with tech experience coming to the table with a solution that actually takes on this issue, something that can actually pass and make sure that Kevin O'Leary's data center that's going to increase carbon emissions by 50% in the great state of Utah is not going to occur. A pause delays the issue. A pause until when? When are we not going to be water stressed? No data centers in Utah, none, ever. No, an area in the water stressed area. That's time. A pause until when?
That's time. Respect the time. Okay,
Pass the talks, man.
Okay, so the final question is directed toward Laban, but it's applicable to all candidates on this stage, so I want to give credit to Laban here. So the question is directed to you first, I'll let you answer it first. Laban, there's no record of you ever attending a protest or publicly saying anything political about Palestine prior to January of this year. Why didn't you speak out publicly until after you decided to run? And I want to know that each candidate on this stage has not shown up in a local community efforts. I ran the city council ceasefire for Palestine, and none of these people were there, right? So I just want to be clear that this is not just Laban, but directed to you. Go ahead.
This is 100% false, first and foremost. Secondly, I wasn't there at that time because I wasn't in Utah at that time. I was actually actively working with the Palestinian youth movement, doing actual organizing work beyond just attending. I was a part of organizing the protests. And also, I protested for 60 hours a week working literally against APAC, the ADL, doing substantive work. I was not only marching the streets, I was walking the walk, doing the work that made so that TikTok was not banned when the pro-Palestinian movement was growing. I was the one there fighting each and every day. Substance. This is the difference between myself and the other candidates here. Tangible results. A track record of integrity and results. Extending postpartum Medicaid. Fighting for the pro-Palestinian movement. Fighting to make sure our small businesses from minority communities get funding. I've actually done things. I might be 27 years old, the youngest person on this stage, but I'm the only one that can say that I've actually done things. And I've never been in an elected office.
Time. And next one will be Nate, and then we'll end with you, Michael. True. Fact checked. True. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, I've been showing up for a decade more. I'm not sure. I remember showing up for mutual aid agreements mutual aid community during COVID, delivering groceries for folks, marching during the pandemic with folks across Salt Lake City, marching for public lands and showing up at the Capitol for years. Those are all things I take very passionately because I think it's an important part of the system. I have passed bills as well, working in the same methods that Liban has. And I guess I would ask back to Liban, like, show us some proof of that. Like, we don't have proof of a letter of
Don't worry,
resignation.
we're gonna fact check everything.
Anything
Continue.
along those lines. I think there are real, I appreciate the audience asking questions here. Let's see where those resignation emails, those emails about all the concerns are at.
Hillary's emails? No, okay, sorry.
One moment. I also want to know, no candidate here was at Black Lives Matter protests.
Let's
either.
wake that up.
Okay.
Let's wake that up.
Michael, go ahead.
I guess I have to defend that I've done things in my life. So I I have done things. Partially that is because
Go ahead.
I've done pro bono work for refugees from Gaza and refugees from unrelated but Afghanistan, helped them resettle, whether that was before or after our withdrawal from Afghanistan and before and after October 7th. I don't publicize that. I'm not looking for credit. I just do that work and I just help people. I don't care. I don't want credit for it. I just enjoy doing it. And yeah, and then I have attended protests, and I haven't documented it, but I attended some in Texas when I was in Texas more than 4 years ago. I don't know if that's a black mark against me being in Texas, but I left. I hated it. So, but yes, I am 37 and I have done things.
Amazing.
Nate has done things. We're running against each other, but he's done things. So
Thank you. All right,
Can I respond to being challenged?
No. Over to you, Ray. Sorry, girls.
Sorry, we're on a
No.
time crunch.
No.
You will want to see what we have next.
Yes.
Everybody
I'm
here.
excited.
I'm excited. There's nothing that could go wrong.
No, nothing.
No, I love a good fact check.
Okay.
Ray, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so now we are going to offer a public poll to all of you lovely people who joined us here today. This is going to be a chance for everyone in the room, or if you're watching at home, to vote on who you would like to drop out of the race. I know that's been your guys' favorite dialogue, so we're going to give you a chance to voice that via poll. It'll be ranked choice voting, and again, we want to emphasize that you will vote on the top 2 candidates who you would like to drop out of the most, and then we're going to give you about 2 minutes to voting, and then I'll announce the answers, and then we're going to fact check everything that's been said from the DA.
Let the progressive voice be heard. You scan the QR code, I believe. Everyone's excited. Everyone's like, where's the poll? Yeah.
Yes.
The top 2 who you want to drop out the most is ranked
Since
choice.
that's
so
your favorite question. Raise your hand if it's Ben McAdams.
I think we all, in a
Unanimous.
dream scenario, would love him to drop out.
It's unanimous Ben McAdams. I don't even think we should continue the poll. I think we're good on the poll if it's
I'm
unanimously Ben.
screaming.
So we're going to clarify the poll just one more time for the people who are on live with us. You are voting for the two people who you want to drop out of the race. Colin, is it possible to put the QR code up on the screen? Is that too much to ask right now when you're doing everything at once?
Yeah, show me your hands. Ben McAdams. Nate.
We got the QR code up.
No, the poll.
They asked me to show hands. I'm just
let's
playing
wait on the
along.
technology. Let's have faith.
I'm just playing along, guys. I'm just doing what the constituents want.
Oh, really? Is that what the people want?
Yeah. Just vote for me. Tell them all to drop out and
Yeah,
put my name.
how about us for Congress? How about that? You're right, I would be canceled very quickly.
I'm cool with it.
Me too, actually.
Cancel me. At least you're dreaming about it, right?
Cancel 2 black people. I dare you, cancel us.
Utah. All the black people in the room are giggling.
Thank you
guys
for,
already
Thank you
know.
for the laughter.
How's the poll looking? How we feeling? We should have did a poll on the DA.
Yeah, I think that's me.
I think we all read the room, though. Never mind. I was gonna say
Ooh,
mean
99
things, but I guess I
votes.
won't. Guess I won't.
Oh, interesting.
Let me see.
Ooh, suspense.
Prefacing the poll, I do want to say, living in Utah as a black queer person my entire life, I never thought that there would be 3 progressives on one ballot. And so that alone, I'm proud. I'm happy we're all here.
And one comment from me, I just want everyone in the audience to know, regardless of what happens in this race, this is not the end.
Correct.
Right? There's so many people who are going to continue fighting for all of our collective liberation. So do not give up hope, regardless of what happens in this race. There's more to be done. There's more to win. There are more candidates who we can field. So just do not give up hope, despite what happens in this race.
And I want to add also that if you are in this room and you are a registered Democrat, you probably should email Mayor Mendenhall and ask her why she endorsed Ben McAdams.
You know,
and
seriously,
CC Jenny Wilson.
And Erica Carlson on City Council.
So I just think that that could also be beneficial. But we want it on paper. We know why, but we want it on paper.
So we are officially out of time.
Go for it.
So
we
we're
ready
going to
to-
have to publish the poll up here, and then obviously the votes are not all in. So after things die down tonight, we will be publishing the result of the poll to the 71% Coalition website.
Can I mention where it is now, or do you want us not to?
You can mention where it is
Okay.
now.
So where it is now, we have, I think it was, last time I checked, 99 votes, 107 votes have been cast. And Michael Farrell is number 1. And Nate Bluin is number 2. So Liban is the crowned king of what people want to stay in. For now, the results may change, but I will say that Michael and Nate are quite far ahead of Liban in the poll, as you can see up there.
We understand that this is not a perfect.
Hey, we're at time. Go ahead.
We understand it's not a perfect polling population. We don't expect, much because there's 9 days left.
That part.
But this is an exercise not in ego, but in community. So we thought it'd be important to go ahead and ask people what they thought. That being said, we do have some closing statements.
No, Trey's voting.
Do we?
Is this a
Thank you so much.
Hey, girls, it's a data point, so it's giving something.
Are you closing?
Yes, I'm closing. Okay, everyone, we're closing. So I want to, first let's take, yeah, okay. Thank you so much for coming. Give yourselves a round of applause. And candidates, I want to thank you for attending and sitting in the hot seats. It's not easy. None of this would have been possible without them. The 71% zine will be available at the exit, and there are QR codes on the bulletin if you want the downloadable option. Follow us on Instagram and join our mailing list. Finally, we have to take a moment to acknowledge everyone who helped plan and host this event. There were so many people behind the scenes to make this happen. First, thanking my co-host, Ray Duckworth. Thank you so much. Round of applause. And also, me. From Green Wave, Utah, we want to thank Kelly Ann Ward and Kenneth Coretti. From CWA 7765, we want to thank Jessica Stauffer and Ian Ferguson. From Healthcare Workers for Palestine, we want to thank Jill James and Embreen Khan. From Utah Jews for Palestine, we want to thank Alana Rostkind and Annie Egelhoff. And from Women's Caucus of the Democratic Party, Utah Democratic Party, we want to thank Angel Weiss. We also thank Jakey Ciolo from the New Collective for key logistical support. We want to thank Colin Williams from the Church of Protest for being our technical expert. We also want to thank Fane for providing refreshments. And a big thank you to all of our ushers. Finally, we have a few people to thank from the 71% Coalition: Browen Cox, Amani Cotter, Mustafa Cotter, and whose unwavering politics brought us tonight, and Gail Bowling, who is quite literally the glue holding everything together. And finally, thanks to all of you for showing up tonight. It means the world to us. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
Thank you so
And
much,
remember, everybody on this stage is doing the right thing, fighting the good fight.
Ruben, I'm sorry,
And it's about who's the best.
I do have
not
one
who's
thing
the
I need
worst.
to
So don't
announce.
forget to love everyone, honestly.
We're silencing women!
Thank you. Guys, the poll of the donor poll, we will have an updated, corrected version. We will put that up on our website, because that was a mistake. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you,
We will
audience,
correct
for
it, we will publish
correcting.
it.
I see you guys.
What up, Mike? Are you? Good. Hey.